By this point, you're probably considering buying a new gimbal. So today I'll be comparing the new Weebill 2 with the Dji Rsc2. So if you should be interested in either of these two gimbals, my verdict will probably shock you. And if you don't know anything about me, I have a long history of working with gimbals, and I've been shooting on a Dji Rsc2 since it came out last year. I also have the Dji Rsc2, and my channel is packed with amazing gimbal videos and tutorials. So I never do gimbal comparisons without having firmly tested both gimbals. But I think this is a very important video if you're considering either the Weebill 2 or the Dji Rsc2 gimbal. And just to clarify one thing, I'm not sponsored by any of these two companies, and these are my own takeaways after years of using gimbals, and I don't favor any of them. Alright, let's get started and take a look at these two gimbals. Alright, so the first thing we have to look at is of course price, because this will determine if we have the money to buy either of these two gimbals in the first place. So let's take a look at the Weebill 2 first, and if you want to buy the standard version where you won't get the case or the handle here, you will be paying 549 bucks. And compare that with the Dji Rsc2, you will be paying 499. So there's a 50 bucks difference between these two, and the Dji Rsc2 is the cheaper one. But let's just dive a bit more into the prices than just that, because it gets a bit more interesting. Alright, so when we talk Weebill, the gimbal is made with this configuration in mind. So the back handle here is mandatory. And to get that and the case here, you will have to go for the combo version, which is 649 bucks. To spice that up a bit more, if you want to have the transmitter and the follow focus wheel for the Weebill 2 so that you can see the actual live feed on the new screen, you will be paying 899 bucks for the Pro version. Nearly 900 bucks. It is 900. And compare that with the Dji Rsc2, you are only paying 739 bucks for the combo version, where you'll get the carrying case, the transmitter, the follow focus, and everything you need. So there's 160 bucks difference between these two if you take the bigger packages. Alright, the next thing here we take a look at is build quality, ease of use, and of course the weight of these two gimbals. Just to take the weight of the gimbal only, the Weebill 2 is 1.4 kilos and the Rsc2 is 1.3 kilos. But of course we'll take it a bit further than that. The build quality of the Weebill 2 is very nice. I like the design of it. I like the feel of the rubber down here. It's mostly made of aluminum. There's some plastic on this gimbal, but it is not much. The feel of use is very, very nice when you handle this gimbal. The one thing that worries me a bit is this articulating screen, because how will this be over time? Will this break when we flip it out? I don't like that it's in the way of an actual other monitor, because you can't add a monitor anywhere here. There's a mounting point here, and then there's a mounting point on the other side, which I really don't like, because then your screen will be offset on the wrong side. And then they've made this gimbal so that it is made for a right-handed person. If you are a left-handed person, all the controls are on the wrong side. So I don't know why they went with that route, so it's only made for right-handed persons. So I don't know. This setup here with the added handle is 2.15 kilos, which isn't much. That is without the camera, of course. So the Dji Rsc2 also has a nice rubber grip down here. They have a fully aluminum design, which I really like, and they have 2 points of accessory mounts. The Rsc2 setup here with the side handle, quick release plate and everything weighs 1.95 kilos. So it is a bit lighter than the Weebill 2. But let's move on and take a look at some of the features. I like the small screen here and the way that you go through it by going into the menu. It's very, very simple and it probably won't break over time. So I like that design. And I also like the way they've laid out the buttons. It's very easy to come to, and you can see it when you're shooting because of the angle right here. And then they have this underslung mode where you flip the gimbal down, you double tap it, and it folds over. This design could also break over time. One of the things with the Rsc2, which is probably one of the downsides, is that these knobs here, they are very, very hard to tighten. And if you have a heavy camera on here, these arms will start to slide down over time. So I would rather have had the locks that they have on the Weebill 2 and the Rs2, because they are much easier to tighten very, very firmly. So it's nice to see that on the Weebill 2 and not these round knobs that they have on the Rsc2. And then the last thing I want to add here is that the Rsc2 has a built-in quick release system for the base plate. You won't get that on the Weebill 2 here. They have removed the quick release plate, but on mine I have the 4Cam 38 quick release plate, which works very, very well. I also have this on the Dji Rsc2. That is actually the full base plate from Ulanzi. I will leave links to both of these down in the description if you want to get some of these quick release plates. They work very, very well. But the favor of this is that the Rsc2 already have that quick release plate, so you don't have to go out and buy it. You see, it's slid down there when I put it on. And just see what we can do about that. There we go. So that was one of the things that I was talking about. Turning these knobs is pretty hard. Alright, so I know that you want to see sample footage from these two gimbals, and yes, of course, it's shot in 24 frames per second. This, what you see here, is from the Weebill 2. This is from the test shoot that I did, and it's mostly shot in PF mode, and you can see some of the other specs down there. But if you take a look at this is shot on the Rsc2, and it's also shot in 24 frames per second. And if I didn't know which one of these shots were shot on what gimbal, I couldn't see the difference. So in my opinion, there's no difference between the stability of these two gimbals. Alright, another important thing is, of course, how does these two gimbals pack down? Because I don't want to use the carrying cases, I would like to have these two gimbals within my backpack. So let's go and take a look at that. Alright, so these are my two production bags that I use, and let's see how these gimbals will fit in here. Let's start with the Rsc2, which we'll put in this compartment of the roller bag. I'll take the tripod legs off, and as you can see, I can just put the accessories by the side and pack it up. So it fits in there very nicely. The Weebill 2, same procedure, off with the legs and off with the tripod or the back handle there. Put this in here and I close this up, and again it fits very nicely. But if you take my backpack here, it's kind of a bit of a different story. The Weebill 2 has a bigger footprint, so I'll have to unbalance the tilt motor, and then it can actually goes in there without any problems. So it goes in there, but I have to rebalance the gimbal. The Rsc2, I can just flip this latch and then it fits in there without any problems. So these are the two ways that I pack my gimbals when I have it on location. Alright, next up here is the functions and the buttons of these two gimbals. Let's just put them side by side here, and we can actually see they both have a front trigger. The front trigger is a bit better on the Rsc2. It has a better feel to it. You can click it just by adding down here. The other one is you can't really click it down here. You have to click it up here, which is a bit of a bum, I would say. So the trigger is better on the Rsc2. And then one of the big things that I really like on the Rsc2 is that they have added the follow focus wheel here, and you can configure it to adjust anything that you want. On the Weebill 2, we have the follow focus wheel here, which I don't like. And the reason why I don't like it here is because I can't reach it with my thumb. I have to take one hand off the gimbal to adjust this, and it feels a bit plasticky. I can't change the parameters so I can control the tilt motor or the pan motor. It can only control the roll motor. Alright, let's jump into the next one, which is payloads. How much can these two gimbals handle? And Zhiyun has now added the weight capacity of this gimbal, and this can actually take 4 kilos, which is a lot. One of the downsides of this is that it cannot take an S1H. If you want that on, you will have to add weights on the other side because you cannot balance the roll motor. But let's take a look at the Dji Rsc2, which can handle 3 kilos. So a kilo less than the Weebill 2, but there is an advantage with the Rsc2. It can take larger cameras as the S1H. So you see my S1H fits on here very, very nicely. And the reason for that is not because there's more space up here, but because you have 2 ways of adjusting the roll motor. You can adjust it on the actual roll motor and on the base plate down here. On the Weebill 2, we only have 1 adjustment point, which is on the base plate. You don't have any adjustment points on the roll motor. If they have added that, it would have been able to take an S1H because we have a lot of clearance here, so it wouldn't be a problem, and it has the torque and the strength to do it. So bit of a design flaw on this one, I would say. On the side of the Weebill 2 here, we have the switch for pan, follow, follow and lock modes. And then all the other modes, you'll have to go into the menu. If we press and hold the front trigger on the Weebill 2, the gimbal will go into POV mode. If we take a look at the Dji Rsc2, we got 3 modes on this M button. So we simply just toggle through the modes by pressing on this button. So you'll have to configure this within the app. And on the front trigger here in the front, let me just recenter this. If you hold this down, it will go into lock mode. So overall, I like the layout of the buttons and design better on the Rsc2 than on the Weebill 2. Alright, let's go with the batteries on these two gimbals because they have both internal batteries and they will charge with USB-C. And this can be a problem because over time these batteries will wear out and you have no way of changing them out. So at some point these two gimbals will die. And for the Rsc2, the battery time is stated to last 14 hours, and I will say that that is not possible. I can probably get around 4 to 5 hours out of this gimbal when I shoot on it for a day. So for a long day, I will have to charge it throughout the day. On the Weebill 2, they state that it will last for 9 hours. I can't say if that is truly true, but of course, I don't think that it will last 9 hours once we get shooting with it. Alright, so what's the verdict after this long video? Yes, let's just ramp it up. The build quality of these two gimbals are equal. The battery is an issue on both of them because they will die at some point. The Weebill 2 is easier to get into underslung mode than the Rsc2. So there is ups and downs on both of them. But what really gets interesting is that if I should recommend you to buy one gimbal right now, I would recommend that you would go out and take the Rs2 instead, which is this gimbal right here. Because with this gimbal you have a battery grip that is replaceable, so you can take the battery grip off. You have a gimbal that will cost you $929 for the whole shebang. You have endless possibilities of accessories. You can break it apart and put it into any backpack. So this gimbal right here is, in my opinion, the most future-proof of any of these. Alright, before you get all crazy in the comments, I just have to correct myself here. It's not $929 for the Rs2, it's $999. So it's $100 more than the big Weebill 2 Pro package. So $100 more and you will get the Rs2. Let's get back to the video. I would recommend you get this if you're considering getting one of the higher models of these two gimbals. But I will say one thing, and that is, if you already have a working gimbal, then there's no reason to upgrade to any of these gimbals, because with the right technique and the proper use, you will get the same footage in the end. So instead of spending a lot of money on a new gimbal, then you should invest in yourself and properly learn how to use a gimbal. So join the Gimbal Academy, and to make it even better, I've added a 40% discount to this video. So now you'll be able to join the Academy for just $2.99. The link is down in the description. In the meantime, go watch some of my other videos. I have a lot of great gimbal videos on this channel. See you next time. Bye.